you for joining us today at What's Cooking with Teresa. It's presented to you by Traditions Bank of Coleman, and we want to thank them for being our program sponsor. Each month, we're going to have a theme program. This month's theme is a traditional Thanksgiving meal. We're going to do a smoked turkey with a cranberry and mandarin sauce. We're going to do giblet gravy, chicken and dressing, sweet potato casserole, and what to do with your leftovers. And right now, we want to thank and recognize the sponsors that has brought this program to you. Have you heard how low the mortgage rates are at Traditions Bank in Coleman? You need to give them a try. Give 15 minutes of your time. Call Debbie at 256-735-2138. Traditions has 3 locations in Coleman County. They're downtown, Holly Pond, and Dodge City. Traditions also has 3 locations surrounding the county: Hayden, Arley, and Priceville. And please don't forget the online banking that Traditions offers. They have e-statements. They also have apps for your mobile phones. So please drop in or give Traditions Bank a call today. Our next sponsor is Stuart Moore. Stuart's located 1/2 block north of the courthouse. Stuart's telephone number is 256-739-0148. Stuart specializes in general practice of law, debt consolidation, divorce, child custody, personal injury, wills, deeds, and estates. He offers free consultations, and appointments can be made on nights and weekends. So please call Stuart at 256-739-0148. Chastity Jordan is also a sponsor of today's show. Chastity works at J. Drake Salon. She's a master cosmetologist. Chastity's been doing hair for over 16 years. She specializes in cuts to fit your facial shape and customized hair coloring. She does all hair needs for your entire family. So call Chastity today for your new holiday look. The number is 256-734-2042. And another sponsor of our show is Tanya Williams. Tanya has Access Realty and Farmers Insurance. She's located at Good Hope on the left before Clayton Homes. For your insurance needs, she carries commercial, farm, auto, life, recreational vehicle, and homeowners. For your real estate needs, she has Smith Lake property, farms, starter homes, rental property, and commercial property. So please call Tanya Williams today, 256-736-2636.
Catering by Teresa is rapidly becoming a tradition to the people of Coleman County. For over 12 years, Teresa has catered corporate events, banquets, class reunions, weddings, rehearsal dinners, business luncheons, and holiday parties. Made from scratch meals with little or no MSGs. The variety of choices ranges from prime rib and ribeye steaks to pulled pork barbecue, grilled pork chops, and chicken cordon bleu. Also good old country cooking like meatloaf, country fried steak, and homemade soups and stews. Even specialty menus include vegetarian, diabetic, hors d'oeuvres, and appetizers. Each job is customized to fit the customer. When you want a memorable event, call Catering by Teresa today.
And now we're going to start with our turkey. Before you roast, fry, or smoke any turkey, you need to clean both cavities out. You have the one on one end, one on the other. You want to wash it inside and out, then you want to pat it dry. What you're going to do to make your turkey more presentable when taken to the table, take your wings, do a back twist on it. It will secure it. That way when you platter it up, it all falls right into place. Just like that. Okay. Now that you have your wings secured, you want the breast side up, of course. And I'm taking one glove off because I'm going to not cross-contaminate anything. I'm going to take my salt. You want to salt your turkey thoroughly. And that is about all the seasoning I use on my turkeys, because I want to bring all the other flavors out with the sides. Okay. And I want to do a little on the inside cavity. Okay. Once you get your turkey salted, the way we're going to do it today is we're going to smoke the turkey. If you smoke a turkey, what you want to do is get the weight of your turkey And this one is a 14-pound turkey, so it's going to smoke for about 4 to 4.5 hours. To test the turkey, you need an internal thermometer, and it needs to reach the degree of 175 to 180 degrees. Once the internal temperature is at that point, you can then remove your turkey from the smoker or the oven or your fryer, and then let it rest for 20 minutes before carving. So now that we have our turkey prepped, we're going to set it aside, get it to the smoker, and then we're going to come back and we're going to start on the gravy. Okay. The giblet gravy is going to consist of, I have my broth. I have 4 cups of chicken broth. To that, we're going to add 1 cup of reserved chicken that we boil for our chicken and dressing. We're then going to add 1 can of cream of chicken soup. You can just put everything in the pan and whisk it together. To this, we add 2 tablespoons of chopped pimento. We're going to take 1 boiled egg, diced very, very small. Now what I want to do is add, I'm going to dip out a little bit of the cold chicken broth. If your chicken broth is already heated, you'll need to use some cold water because adding cornstarch to any hot liquid is going to make it lump. So we're just going to add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. Mix this. Add this to our mixture. That's as simple as that. All you've got to do now is take it to your stovetop, bring it to a simmer. You're going to let this simmer for about 10 to 20 minutes, stirring it constantly. If not, all your ingredients will settle to the bottom, then you'll have a mess. So while that's going, we're going to get our cranberry sauce together. We're doing a homemade cranberry and mandarin orange sauce today. Take a cup of water, add to your pot. To this, I have purchased 1 pound bag of fresh cranberries. Put those in the water, along with 2 cups of sugar. Okay, I'm going to give this a stir. We're going to take this to the stove top, and we're going to let it cook and simmer for about 5 to 7 minutes. While that's starting to simmer, we're going to take, I have poured about 2 tablespoons of juice from the mandarin oranges. Along with that, we're going to add another 2 tablespoons or 3 to the mandarin orange juice. Well, my cranberries fell in there, but that's okay. It's got to cook anyway. You want to dissolve this in the cool mandarin orange juice. If by chance you happen to throw your juice away when you drain them and you forget, just get a little water, but always dissolve your cornstarch. Okay. The cranberries have been cooking for about 7 minutes, and at that time they're going to start popping. You want to wait till they do start popping open before you add your cornstarch mixture. Otherwise, it's going to go to the bottom and it will not thicken properly. So I'm just going to take this off the eye, bring it back over. And once your cranberries have started popping, what I like to do, take a large spoon, a heavy spoon. Take your cranberries, push them over to the side of the pot. For the ones that's not really completely popped, you don't really want to bite into a large cranberry. You just want to mush it just a little, okay? Once they've started popping open, you're going to add your cornstarch. Now what this is going to do, it's going to actually turn into a translucent mixture, a thickener agent. This is going to thicken up nicely. We're going to add it, take it back to the stove, and let it stir, let it simmer for just about a minute. You're going to have to stir this constantly or it's going to stick. Okay? It's thickening up nicely, so what we're going to do is take our mandarin oranges. If they're large oranges, you do want to chop them. You don't want to bite into a large piece of orange. These are small ones, so we're just going to add these into our mixture. And what this is going to do, this is going to simmer and thicken up. And as it does, you just keep stirring. Occasionally, if some sticks to the bottom, that's no big deal. And if you do happen to have a lump that does come in your cornstarch water, just continue to stir it. It should dissolve. Okay, we've got our giblet gravy going. It's starting to thicken up nicely. If by chance you do happen to get either of these sauces too thick or too thin, easy remedy. If it's too thick, just add a little more liquid. Doesn't matter if it's chicken broth or water to your gravy, or if it's water or mandarin orange to your cranberry sauce. Just gradually add until you get it the consistency that you like. If you happen to get it too thin, please do not add your cornstarch directly to the liquid. It'll clump and you won't get the clumps out. What you need to do, get a little more liquid, add a little more cornstarch, then you can gradually drizzle that in and stir, and it should thicken up nicely. So I hope that you enjoyed this meal, the segment today, and now we're going to recognize the sponsors that brought this to you, and we want to thank them. Have you heard how low mortgage rates are at Traditions Bank in Coleman? Please, you need to stop by or give Debbie a call, 256-735-2138. Traditions has 3 locations in Coleman County. They're downtown, Holly Pond, and Dodge City. They also have 3 locations surrounding Coleman. They're Hayden, Priceville, and Arley. And please, don't forget the online banking with the e-statements. They also have apps from your mobile phone. One of the next sponsors is Doug Doggett Jewelry. He has served Coleman since 1981. He and his family, they have, in addition to the fine jewelry selections, they offer appraisals, in-store repairs, custom jewelry, custom engraving, watches, and watch repairs. They're located in Southwest Coleman on Compass Way. So please, go by, visit Doug, his daughters, and their staff for that special Christmas gift. Dr. Sherry Swader and Diana Wilhite, CRNP, at Coleman Primary Care Neurology is also one of our sponsors. A neurologist is a doctor trained in diagnosis and treatment of the nervous system disorders, also diseases of the brain, spinal cord, nerves, and muscles. They do EEGs, nerve conduction studies, and lumbar puncture. They're located at Professional Building 3 on Highway 157 next to the hospital. Their office hours are Monday through Thursday from 8 to 4, Friday from 8 to 10. Call Dr. Swader at 256-736-1615. Samuel Tucker at Mitch Smith Chevrolet is also one of our sponsors. We want to thank him. His cell number is 256-385-0178. The office number is 256-734-6430. You can email Samuel at brobubba1989@gmail.com. For your next car and truck or SUV, call Samuel 256-385-0178.
Catering by Teresa is rapidly becoming a tradition to the people of Coleman County. For over 12 years, Teresa has catered corporate events, banquets, class reunions, weddings, rehearsal dinners, business luncheons, and holiday parties. Made from scratch meals with little or no MSGs. The variety of choices ranges from prime rib and ribeye steaks to pulled pork barbecue, grilled pork chops, and chicken cordon bleu. Also good old country cooking like meatloaf, country fried steak, and homemade soups and stews. Even specialty menus include vegetarian, diabetic, hors d'oeuvres, and appetizers. Each job is customized to fit the customer. When you want a memorable event, call Catering by Teresa today.
Now we're going to start with our chicken and dressing. What I have already done, I have prepared what we call a pone of cornbread down here in the South. And I've also included that recipe on the website. I'm not doing it today because I needed my cornbread already cooked and cooled and crumbled. So to get the recipe of cornbread, check the website out, and I'll announce that later. What you're going to be doing is we're going to be using 4 cups of the cornbread crumble, 4 cups of grated or crumbled breadcrumbs. And what I do is throughout the month of October, just to save a little money and pinch a little penny, save your end pieces of all your white bread and put them in a Ziploc bag, put it in the freezer, and then just before you need to use it, lay it out, let it unthaw, put it in your food processor, and you have instant free breadcrumbs. So we've got 4 cups of breadcrumbs, 4 cups of crumbled cornbread. To this, add, it's about 2 chicken breasts or maybe 1 large leg quarter. We're also going to add a 1/2 cup of milk. Whatever you have in your pan. These recipes are not very difficult. You can ad lib, add to, take away, whatever. I have 2 tablespoons of rubbed sage. If you want to use fresh, the fresh is fine. I just didn't have any. Mine died this summer. So I'm a cook, not a gardener, right? Okay, to this we're going to add 1 can. It's the 10.5 ounce of cream of chicken soup. Any brand will do. I'm not a stickler on brand. Everybody prefers different. I personally try to be a thrifty shopper. Generic is fine in this case. Okay. I have 1 medium onion. If you don't like the onion, you can also substitute with onion powder if you don't like to bite into an onion. But in my case, we love onions in our family. So we're going to add 1 medium, small diced onion. Now, 3 eggs. Whoops. A little noisy, huh? Okay. We're going to whisk these eggs before you add them to your mixture. Okay. Now to this, what we're going to do is when you're preparing your chicken for your dressing and your giblet gravy, I like to use about 2 pounds of chicken. You can use dark meat, you can use white meat. But you want to put in about 1 gallon to 1.5 gallons of water to this. Bring it to a boil, let it boil until your chicken is completely cooked. Dip the chicken out, let it cool so you can pull it apart. Now you're going to use part for your giblet gravy that we did earlier, and you're going to use the rest of it in your dressing. You're going to reserve part of that broth for your giblet gravy, as we did, and then we're going to reserve about 6 cups of this broth. You're going to pour it into your dressing. You're going to mix it really well. Once it is mixed, then you get a casserole dish, spray your dish, pour your mixture into the dish, and then you're going to put it in the preheated oven, 350 degrees. You're going to let this bake about 15 minutes. I like to take mine out, give it a stir, because I don't like for the top of my dressing to brown very dark before the inside is set. So I give it a stir halfway through the cooking time. Put it back in the oven. If you want to drizzle it with some melted butter, that's fine also. But then it should bake and set nicely. So to this, we're going to set it aside. Now we're going to start with our sweet potato casserole. Okay, we're going to get these over here out of the way. We're going to do 3 more eggs. Actually, I think 2 would be more sufficient. Okay. I have already pre-cooked my sweet potatoes. What you need to do to your sweet potatoes, you peel them, and you want to peel down deep enough to remove the white part, just underneath the skin. You can use canned sweet potatoes, canned yams, doesn't matter, but what you want is 4 cups of prepared mashed sweet potatoes or yams. This is going to be our base. Okay, there's our sweet potato. I'm going to get some of the ingredients over here close so I won't have to keep turning my back on you. Okay, we have a teaspoon of cinnamon that we're going to add. That's about good. I have a half a cup of melted margarine. We're going to add. Okay. And I want to add about a teaspoon of vanilla. If you're using vanilla extract as I have here, please do not use more than a teaspoon. Sometimes just a half a teaspoon actually may do on that one. That's what I've just did. So we're going to use a half because extract is much stronger than the imitation. And I have used imitation, nothing wrong with that. I have heavy cream. We're going to use about, I'm going to pour a cup, but I'm not going to add it all until we see if we're going to need it. A lot of times I just eyeball my recipes. But we have 1 cup of brown sugar that we're going to add. 1 cup of white sugar. Yes, it's a very sweet dish, but that's okay. It's Thanksgiving. Okay? We have 1 cup. I've got 2 cups here. I'm going to start out with about 1.5 cups. To this, I'm going to add 2 of my eggs. Whisk them. Always pop your eggs in a bowl because just in case if you drop a shell or there's any particles in the eggs that you don't want in your recipe, you'll be good. Okay. I'm going to gently start stirring this. Your main ingredients in any sweet potato casserole is simple. You've got to have your flour for your thickening and your eggs for the thickening. You've got your sweet potatoes, your flavoring elements, which is your cinnamon and your vanilla. Now I'm going to add my cream. If you don't have heavy cream, if we're whipping this up in the last minute, then you can always add carnation milk. It needs to be a little thicker. We're going to add our flour. And I'm going to get this mixed up. We're going to pour it in a casserole dish and get it ready. But right now, we do want to thank our sponsors for bringing this segment to you. Have you heard how low the mortgage rates are at Traditions Bank in Coleman? You need to give them a try. Give 15 minutes of your time. Call Debbie at 256-735-2138. Traditions has 3 locations in Coleman County. They're downtown, Holly Pond, and Dodge City. Traditions also has 3 locations surrounding the county: Hayden, Arley, and Priceville. And please, don't forget the online banking that Traditions offers. They have e-statements. They also have apps for your mobile phones. So please, drop in or give Traditions Bank a call today. Our next sponsor is Stuart Moore. Stuart's located 1/2 block north of the courthouse. Stuart's telephone number is 256-739-0148. Stuart specializes in general practice of law, debt consolidation, divorce, child custody, personal injury, wills, deeds, and estates. He offers free consultations, and appointments can be made on nights and weekends. So please call Stuart at 256-739-0148. Chastity Jordan is also a sponsor of today's show. Chastity works at J. Drake Salon. She's a master cosmetologist. Chastity's been doing hair for over 16 years. She specializes in cuts to fit your facial shape and customized hair coloring. She does all hair needs for your entire family. So call Chastity today for your new holiday look. The number is 256-734-2042. And another sponsor of our show is Tanya Williams. Tanya has Access Realty and Farmers Insurance. She's located at Good Hope on the left before Clayton Homes. For your insurance needs, she carries commercial, farm, auto, life, recreational vehicle, and homeowners. For your real estate needs, she has Smith Lake Property, farms, starter homes, rental property, and commercial property. So please, call Tanya Williams today, 256-736-2636.
Catering by Teresa is rapidly becoming a tradition to the people of Coleman County. For over 12 years, Teresa has catered corporate events, banquets, class reunions, weddings, rehearsal dinners, business luncheons, and holiday parties. Made from scratch meals with little or no MSGs. The variety of choices ranges from prime rib and ribeye steaks to pulled pork barbecue, grilled pork chops, and chicken cordon bleu. Also good old country cooking like meatloaf, country fried steak, and homemade soups and stews. Even specialty menus include vegetarian, diabetic, hors d'oeuvres, and appetizers. Each job is customized to fit the customer. When you want a memorable event, call Catering by Teresa today.
Now that our sweet potato casserole has cooked about 15 minutes, we're going to finish it off. What I've got, about a cup and a half of mini marshmallows. If you don't like the marshmallows, it's not going to hurt to leave them out, but most people like them. So now I'm going to mix the topping. I've got a cup of pecans, about a teaspoon of cinnamon, another cup of brown sugar. What we're doing, we're going to make a crumble. And this crumble is just going to give the sweet potato casserole a little crunch, a little texture to it. Now we have a half a cup of margarine. I'm going to start out little at a time because if your crumble is too moist, it's really not going to do well. Just want to mix this up. Might be easier using your hands, but for the sake of the show, I'm going to use a spoon. You want to press this flour and sugar together. And it will look like a crumble. I'm going to add a little more margarine to this. It's easier to add it a little at a time than take away. Believe me, I have added too much in times in the past. Then I had to add more flour, more sugar, more pecans, and I wound up with an extra bowl of crumble. Okay. Once you get this mixed pretty well, you're just going to drizzle it all over the top. Now what I did during the break, we cooked the sweet potato casserole about 15 minutes. Then I give it a stir because I wanted the inside to set similar to your chicken and dressing. Let a little bit of your marshmallows to peep through. The white just gives it a little color. So once you get this done, you've got your crumble on top, then you can put it back in the oven and do the remainder time of your baking, about another 15 minutes. But you want to watch it because once your top gets the golden brown, and you can tell the difference, the brown sugar is going to make it hard, but once you get that golden brown color, you're going to be done because you did let the sweet potato casserole cook prior to the topping. So we're going to set this aside. And for the sake of television, I just so happen to have one ready. We're not going to have to wait on that topping to cook. And this is what your finished product should look like on your sweet potato casserole. Notice I've got a little bit of the marshmallow peeping through, and then you've got your crumble. You'll see the color of the brown just speckled out throughout. So, and you can actually jiggle your bowl while it's in the oven with a mitt. Jiggle it. If it's still jiggly, let it bake a little longer. Technology. Okay, here we have our cranberry and mandarin orange salsa that we made. The sauce would be perfect to go with your chicken and dressing alongside your turkey. So, speaking of chicken and dressing, we have our finished product. And I did say before, halfway through the cooking time of your dressing, you want to take it out, give it a stir, because if you don't, everyone's oven's different. Your top may brown a little bit more, and it still may be a little raw in the middle. And having the raw eggs in your dressing, when you shake it in your oven or take it out, you don't want it to be jiggly because it's not set, meaning it's not done. If you give it a shake and it's set, you'll know you're good to go. This is the giblet gravy. We made it. And as it sets, it will thicken a little more. If your gravy gets too thick, If you make it in advance, an hour or two in advance, and want to refrigerate it, that's fine. If it gets a little thick, you can always go in, add a little more broth or a little more water. Everything's an easy fix when you're cooking, as long as you don't tell anybody. And I just want to say, I try to shop locally. Most of my dishes and prep items that I have, for example, I picked this up at Water Valley Flea Market just this weekend. I needed a gravy bowl because at home we have a big family. This would be one serving. But for presentation, now for the main event. Here is our turkey. This is the turkey that we smoked. Now, if this were to be a fried turkey, of course, when it comes out of the fryer, you'll want to drain it. And a little extra caution when you're frying a turkey, you want to make sure that your oil level is what it needs to be. So really, really pay attention to your fryer. Do not exceed the oil level, because when you do, that hot oil is going to boil over, get your fire going, and you're going to have a disaster. So really pay attention to your oil level. You insert your turkey into the oil, cook it for the prep time. The recipe is on the website. There's so many minutes per so many pounds. And then sometimes on the instructions on your turkey cooker, it will give those instructions also, because every turkey weighs differently. Go by the poundage. When you're roasting a turkey, in this case we smoked it, but when you're roasting a turkey, what you can do is you want to cover it with butter and then let it bake for the first 30 minutes uncovered in a roasting pan. After the 30 minutes, take it out. You can baste it with more butter or melted margarine, or you can also use drippings if enough drippings has come out of the turkey. You want to baste the turkey every 30 minutes. This is just going to keep it moist. If for some reason, there again, you also time your turkey according to your poundage. So many minutes per so many pounds, and there again on the roasted instructions, that's on the website. You're going to use an internal thermometer on the frying technique, the roasting technique, and the smoking technique. When you've estimated an amount of time your bird should be done, check the temperature. If it has not reached 175 degrees, it needs to cook longer. Once the internal thermometer has reached 175, you take your bird, let it set and rest 20 minutes before carving. Now on the roasted one, if it seems to look a little dry or a little brown as you want it to be before the done time has been reached, the temperature, cover it with aluminum foil or a covering on your roasting pan. This will keep the bird from, this will stop the browning process, especially with aluminum foil, and your bird should stay moist. But always continue to baste a roasted turkey every 30 minutes. That'll keep the juices in. Now on this smoked turkey, it was the simplest form actually. On a smoked turkey, you take a large piece of aluminum foil. I half wrap the turkey halfway up. I know it sounds difficult, but it's not. Lay the turkey in the center of the aluminum foil, pull it up halfway onto the bird after you've salted it, and then I place it in a pan and place it on the smoker. We smoke for 275 degrees, about 4.5 hours for this particular size bird. I did check the internal thermometer. It did read 175 after 4.5 hours. So I took it off and I let it rest, and I plated it up. And actually, I said my sage died. Well, this is my rosemary I picked this morning. It didn't die. It survived. Apparently, it's hardy and Teresa-proof. So when you're fixing your bird, I chose an old platter that was my mother-in-law's. I like vintage stuff. I like colorful stuff. I like old-looking items. So when I'm doing my shopping, whether it's your local flea market, your local thrift store, or just some of the novelty stores, try to pick up items that's going to accent your food. People eat with their eyes first and most. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to recognize our sponsors, and we want to thank them for bringing this segment of the traditional Thanksgiving meal to your table. Have you heard how low mortgage rates are at Traditions Bank in Coleman? Please, you need to stop by or give Debbie a call, 256-735-2138. Traditions has 3 locations in Coleman County. They're downtown, Holly Pond, and Dodge City. They also have 3 locations surrounding Coleman. They're Hayden, Priceville, and Arley. And please, don't forget the online banking with the e-statements. They also have apps from your mobile phone. One of our next sponsors is Doug Doggett Jewelry. He has served Coleman since 1981. He and his family, they have, in addition to the fine jewelry selections, they offer appraisals, in-store repairs, custom jewelry, custom engraving, watches, and watch repairs. They're located in Southwest Coleman on Compass Way. So please, go by, visit Doug, his daughters, and their staff for that special Christmas gift. Dr. Sherry Swader and Diana Wilhite, CRNP, at Coleman Primary Care Neurology is also one of our sponsors. A neurologist is a doctor trained in diagnosis and treatment of the nervous system disorders, also diseases of the brain, spinal cord, nerves, and muscles. They do EEGs, nerve conduction studies, and lumbar puncture. They're located at Professional Building 3 on Highway 157 next to the hospital. Their office hours are Monday through Thursday from 8 to 4, Friday from 8 to 10. Call Dr. Swader at 256-736-1615. Samuel Tucker at Mitch Smith Chevrolet is also one of our sponsors. We want to thank him. His cell number is 256-385-0178. The office number is 256-734-6430. You can email Samuel at brobubba1989@gmail.com. For your next car and truck or SUV, call Samuel 256-385-0178.
Catering by Teresa is rapidly becoming a tradition to the people of Coleman County. For over 12 years, Teresa has catered corporate events, banquets, class reunions, weddings, rehearsal dinners, business luncheons, and holiday parties. Made from scratch meals with little or no MSGs. The variety of choices ranges from prime rib and ribeye steaks to pulled pork barbecue, grilled pork chops, and chicken cordon bleu. Also good old country cooking like meatloaf, country fried steak, and homemade soups and stews. Even specialty menus include vegetarian, diabetic, hors d'oeuvres, and appetizers. Each job is customized to fit the customer. When you want a memorable event, call Catering by Teresa today.
Now we want to pretend that this turkey has been totally demolished, which of course, due to television, we've not had time to do that yet. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull some of the turkey off as if it was left over. Now, in most cases, when you think of leftover turkey, you think of a cold turkey sandwich on the following day. But in our case, no, we don't want to do that. We want to spiff it up just a little. So what we're going to do, we want to try to get a little of the white meat, little bit of the dark meat just to give it the flavor. Most of your flavor and most of your poultry is found in the dark meat. A little more fattening, but there again a little more flavorful. You also want to take care when you're dealing with the drumsticks of a turkey. They have what we call a splinter bone. I don't know if you're aware of that or not, but it can be very painful if it sticks your finger and not very tasty. Thank you, George. Now, we're going to pretend we have about, well, I'm not going to have to pretend. I believe I'm going to have about a cup of turkey. And I have demolished the turkey. So, we're going to set him aside. And now we're going to start with our turkey tetrazzini. First, I'm going to get us a mixing bowl. I have got a pound of pasta that I've already prepared and drained. You can use any pasta. You can use bow tie. You can use spaghetti pasta. You can use fettuccine. Any pasta that you like, no problem. And the trick to pasta, if you'll notice, even though this has been drained, it's not sticking together. What I do, once my pasta's cooked, you stir it occasionally while it's boiling. Once it's reached the tenderness, then you drain it. You cook it according to the directions first. Then you drain the pasta, put it back in the pot or a separate bowl. I drizzle mine with about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Give it a toss. If you're not going to use all the pasta at that one particular setting, cover it, and the next day it still will not stick together as long as you use your olive oil, or you can even use some melted butter in it. Now, we've got our pasta. I'm going to take the turkey. You want to break it into bits. This way you can make sure there are no bones, ligaments, and I do not like the skin in my recipe of the tetrazzini. This is time consuming, but it's well worth it. Like I said, sure does beat a cold turkey sandwich. While I'm doing this, one of the things we do at our family, other than the chicken tetrazzini, when we smoke a turkey, it's best to do this next recipe I'm just going to verbally tell you with a smoked turkey. I reserve some of the turkey juices that comes from the turkey in the bottom of the aluminum foil. You remember I told you when you bring the aluminum foil halfway up up the turkey? Reserve part of the juice, just refrigerate it. The next day, if you do have to make a turkey sandwich, you need to get Texas toast or barbecue bread. Butter on one side and toast it. Take your leftover turkey. Now this, of course, has been sliced, but what we like to do, if some has not been sliced, pull it apart. Make it look like barbecue, like pulled pork. You want to pull it apart, pour some of that extra juice that you had left over from the smoke, and just drizzle it over it and work it into the meat. This moistens your turkey up. Heat that turkey. Once you've toasted your bread, use the heated turkey with some mayonnaise, lettuce, and tomato. That makes a scrumptious sandwich. And years ago, we used to own a restaurant, and that was one of the top sandwiches that was on our menu, the smoked turkey sandwich. But if you don't reserve that juice, it will be dry. That's the little trick. Okay, now to our pasta and to our turkey. I have got a small can of mushrooms that I've already opened. You can use the mushroom pieces and stems if you want to cut back on the cost of this recipe. So to this, I think it's a 4-ounce can of mushrooms. Drain the mushrooms. Now you want to add I've got a can, it's a 10.5-ounce can, cream of mushroom soup. There again, no particular brand. I'm not a stickler on brand, especially in casseroles, because the flavors, they blend so well together, doesn't matter. Okay, we'll set this aside. This, again, diced pimento. If you'll recall, we use this in our giblet gravy. So rather than having half a can, just hold on to the rest of the pimento. You're going to put about 2 tablespoons into this. Now I have my salt and my pepper. I'm not going to use as much salt in this recipe because I have about 12 ounces of Velveeta cheese. I try not to use a lot of processed cheeses in my recipes. I try to use cheddar cheese, but in some recipes you just can't. Some calls for the Velveeta just for the smooth texture that it's going to give your pasta. So to this, doesn't want to come out. We're going to add about 12 ounces. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to reserve just a little of this. I like to see the melted cheese on the top of my casserole dishes. So I'm going to reserve a little. If you don't want to take the time to do that, put it all in. But you do want to use about 12 ounces. Now we're going to use about 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper, which is a good little pinch. Now to this, I'm going to use 2 good pinches of salt, which is going to be about a teaspoon. Okay. Now, this is going to be a dry recipe simply because you do have the turkey and you have drained your pasta and you have drained your mushrooms. Rather than getting the moisture that I need from the pasta and from the juices of the mushrooms, I'm going to add some heavy cream. Now, if you want to cut back on the calories, you can use skim milk. You can use 2% whole milk because the heavy cream is going to be your most fattening dairy product that there is. If you don't have any of the fresh milk, if you want to pull a can of carnation milk, and you can use about half a can of that. But we're going to start with about a half a cup. Okay? I'm going to mix this together. If you like your recipes and your pastas a little less cheesy and a little less creamy, this is an extremely easy recipe that you can modify. You can use low-fat cheese, no-fat cheese, but you are going to need to use some sort of cheese just to give it the texture. I've even actually used some fresh Parmesan cheese in this before, and it has come together. It's a hard recipe to mix. Now, if you have more turkey left over, if you have an extra large turkey, by all means, add more turkey. This is a recipe you can play with. If you don't like mushrooms, leave the mushrooms out. If you had rather have cream of celery soup, you can substitute. It's not a big deal. The main thing is you'll want to use some sort of cream of mushroom soup. And I do want to bring this up. I have family members that are allergic to MSGs, and most of your canned soups do have MSGs in them. So when I do know that I have someone that I'm feeding that's allergic, simple recipe for your cream of mushroom, cream of celery, cream of chicken soup. All you want to do is get, if you're going to do mushroom, get a can of the mushrooms, put in your food processor, zap it a little till it comes to a thick mush. Then you want to add about a cup of chicken broth or turkey broth, whatever you have. About half a cup of heavy cream, salt, and garlic powder. You want to bring this to a simmer. Once it's come to a simmer, you want to get, there again, your cornstarch, a good thickening agent. Get about 2 or 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. Mix that with about 2 tablespoons of liquid. Anything, broth, cream, water. You want to dissolve that to make a thin paste. Pour that into your cream of soup. Just stir until it thickens. You can make that as thick or as thin as you want. So that's your easy recipe go-to for an MSG-free cream of soup. And I call it cream of soup because you can do cream of celery, boiled celery. You can use boiled chicken and mince it up for your cream of chicken soup. You can, broccoli. If you want to do cream of broccoli soup and do a cheesy broccoli soup, boil your broccoli. Just take anything. I just call it my cream of soup. And I use any ingredient I have. It's a little dry. I'm going to add the rest of our cream. Okay. Now that I've talked your ears off, we're going to bowl this up, get her ready for the oven. Take your casserole dish, and you'll want to spray with cooking spray, just to keep it from sticking. And I'm going to just let this fall in. Due to everything already being pre-cooked, this is a foolproof casserole. If you're very hungry, doesn't take long. I talked through this because I did want to give you a little bit of information, but you can make it quicker than I did. Okay, you want to arrange it. Very hard to shred Velveeta cheese. You can either use the cubes that I've done, or in this case, you can actually top it with cheddar cheese. The cheddar will melt smoothly and look presentable. So this is another turn to leftover turkey, your turkey tetrazzini. Serve it with a side vegetable or a side salad the next night. Your family will never know it came out of the oven the day before. So what I'm going to do next, seems like you always have that little extra sweet potato casserole left. And really, sweet potato casserole is not the best thing left over. You can't do as much with it as you can turkey. But here's our casserole that we had. We're going to make a sweet potato pie. Okay. We're going to say that, well, I'll just use this one. Had cream in it, no big deal. You're going to use about 2 cups of sweet potato casserole. This had cream in it. The cream was actually in our sweet potato casserole, so it's not going to make a difference. My motto is, the less dishes you mess up, the less you have to wash. Nothing wrong with that. And if you have your dry measuring cup, this is an ingredient, it's not going to make a difference. So you're going to have 1 cup. And we're going to have about 2 cups. Doesn't have to be exact. I'm going to set this to the side because I'm making a big mess. To this, you're really going to need to add a couple of more eggs because the eggs with the flour is a very good thickening agent. And you don't want your pie to be jiggly. So, beat your eggs. I've got 2 eggs I've just added. A little more cinnamon because it is a dessert. You want that flavor to pop. A half a cup of flour. 1 cup of white sugar. It is a dessert. It is Thanksgiving, so indulge. And about a half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Okay. And I tell you, since I'm done with the turkey, I'm going to take my gloves off. Okay. You're not going to want your sweet potato casserole sweet potato pie to be as, as runny as I guess you would call it as you did your sweet potato casserole. You want your pie to be a little bit thicker. Okay. In this case, it could be a little thinner if you want. I've used 2 eggs, so I'll be okay with this. Had I used 3 eggs, I would need a little more flour. Okay, you want to take your pie shell. I didn't take the time to make my own pie crust because I'm a busy mom, like most every other person around. So just buy a 10-inch, 9-inch, whatever you have. There again, I'm not a stickler for stuff. But one thing you really need to do, use a fork or a knife. You want to just do holes, little slots all through your crust. What this is going to do is as your pie bakes, it's going to keep the air pockets from coming up and getting under your pie and making your crust break when you cut the pie. So if you'll do just cut the little holes in it, just sporadically around, it's going to let the air go through. Okay. Now we've got our pie. If all pie plates are different sizes, if you happen to have a really large pie plate, use a little more of your sweet potatoes, your casserole. If you have a 9-inch pie thickness, roundness, that's only 1 inch thick, you won't need this much. In this case, we've got a 9-inch pie with a 2-inch thickness, so you're going to need all of this. So what I do on the pie, you can top this with chopped pecans if you want. You can also top it with a few mini marshmallows and pecans. In our house, we just eat it plain. So this is ready to go to the oven. You'll bake it on 350 for about 30 minutes, give or take. If it's jiggly and it's not set, let it set a little longer. What I like to do is when it's almost set, I like to turn the oven off and let it set in my oven for about 30 minutes and continue baking without the direct heat. So this is going to be your pie made from your leftover sweet potato casserole. I like to cook with no waste. Now what I want to show you, we've really went over a lot today, so I hope I've not thrown too much at you that you can't do a traditional Thanksgiving meal. And I know this is a very extra large plate. I guess we'd call this the husband's plate. But we've brought to you today homemade chicken and dressing with our homemade cranberry mandarin orange sauce, our sweet potato casserole, our smoked turkey with our giblet gravy. And I want to thank you for joining us for our Thanksgiving meal. And I want to invite you to please join us next month for our Christmas program. What we're going to try to do at What's Cooking is do a theme show each month. Of course, next month being Christmas, we're going to present to you party foods, hors d'oeuvres, maybe party entertaining, some ideas. So throughout the next few weeks, I'm going to try to come up with some good stuff and bring to you and hope that you'll enjoy it. And we want to thank Traditions Bank for being our program sponsor, and I want to thank all of our other sponsors. Please, if you visit any of our sponsors, tell them that you've seen the show and you really appreciate them sponsoring us. And today's program was brought to you by Channel 2 of Coleman. And we also want to say that you can view our recipes on my website, which is customcateringbyteresa.com. You can also go to Channel 2 and pull up the archives and view it on YouTube if you need to revamp on some of the recipes. Thank you for joining us on What's Cooking with Teresa on Channel 2 Coleman.